Welcome back to another episode of the Carbon Cardboard Podcast, covering Formula One and the Formula One card hobby. I'm your host, Bryan, Q3 Cards, joined as always with my good friend Scott from the P1 Castle.
What's going on?
Back from the other side of the globe.
Literally the exact other side. So exact other side that the plane traveled from west to east. So we traveled east to get there and then traveled east again. So did a complete circle around the world to Singapore and back.
So obviously we're going to talk Singapore. It's been about a week since you've been back, about a week since the race. Lots to talk about. I got to ask you before we get started here, Scott, what flight was worse, going to Australia or Singapore?
Oh, Singapore by far. Because Australia, we broke up. Australia, we went over to LA, and then from LA went to Melbourne, and then Melbourne, we were supposed to go to Cairns, but so we had to drive. But that one was not as bad because that was only like 14, 15 hours. And you'd be surprised the difference between 14 and 19 hours on a plane is pretty big. So yeah, it was brutal.
I can't even fathom. I know when you and I went out to PSA earlier this year, we were in a little plane, and you're taller than I, but I'm still pretty tall. I felt so claustrophobic on that. I don't know if I could make it for 19 hours in a plane.
Yeah, granted, these planes are huge. The ones that do these trips, like this 19-hour one, it's massive, right? I mean, there's like 90 seats. Or 90 rows rather. So, they're putting like 150, 180 people on these planes. So it's a huge plane. You get a little bit of room. The seats are pretty roomy as well, as long as you're not in, basic economy. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. On the way there, I slept for about 2 or 3 hours, just couldn't get to sleep. On the way home though, I slept about 8. But I'm only just now, it's been like a full week. I'm only just now kind of getting back to my schedule. The jet lag wasn't that bad going there, but it is pretty rough coming back.
Yeah, it's about 12-hour difference or whatever. So anyways, people don't want to hear us talking about bemoaning flight and travel issues here. Let's talk Formula One, and we are going to, because I'm a complete amateur and we haven't done this in a few weeks, I'll make sure I share the right screen here. Let's talk about the race winner, Singapore, Lando Norris, win number 3.
Yep.
We have a photo to show later. You actually touched Lando's helmet.
I did get to touch it. Yeah. I mean, just to real quick talk about the race. I mean, most dominant performance, right, that we've seen from Lando in any of his victories. He had it all the way. I mean, and probably could have pulled out a bigger gap. What we've been saying about Max, he won by 20, could have been a minute. Same thing here for Lando. He was really on it.
The Grand Slam, for the most part, except for, and we'll talk about Daniel Ricciardo in a little bit, just missed fastest lap on the last, led every lap, pretty much led every practice session, like you said, first in qualifying,
right?
Yeah,
didn't he? Yeah,
maybe it was like second, but I mean, he was dialed in, as expected. Joined by Piastri on the podium. It was good to see Max back on the podium because it had been quite some time, and it was good to see him put in the performance. But it's still, the car is struggling. They did find out that, what was it, Scott, like an upgrade that they did last year, that Max was just so dominant that it masked it. And Checo was the one that was first reporting the issues. And if you're a Drive to Survive fan, we don't swear on this show, but Toto had the printout.
Yeah, the car was blanked. I mean, I think they said it like went all the way back to like Barcelona upgrade or something. So I mean, it's good that they found out the root cause, because they do have upgrades coming. Believe it or not, with only 6 races left, they do have upgrades coming. So we'll have to see kind of how that bears out. But yeah, I mean, everyone thought going into Singapore that Red Bull wasn't going to be there, right? I mean, this was the race that last year, the only race they didn't win, and it was on merit that they weren't there. So, and Sergio was down in 10th. So, for Max to put in the qualifying effort that he did, and to end up coming home P2 ahead of Piastri when the McLaren was clearly the fastest car is a really, really good performance, and one that might, save him the championship.
Yeah, this was just, it's hard to talk about it because it was over a week ago now too, but we're on screen here. If you're listening to the audio version, looking at some of the shots of obviously Lando and Piastri on both on the podium celebrating here. Both you and I, Scott, we've mentioned it before in the podcast, are huge fans of the Formula One driver helmets.
Oh yeah.
I liked Lando's a lot. I also liked Oscar's. Kind of had like the little, sapphire look. I know that was
like a sapphire 70th. It's the right color.
But let's see. Yeah, so let's look at the standings. So obviously, Max putting in, Lando got 7 points on him. Max still leading here.
52 points, chipping
52
away.
52 points, but since Miami, they're even on points. So it all for all that McLaren and Lando have done, they're still, for lack of a term, still kind of like status quo. I think it's going to be really difficult unless they keep winning here to really surpass this. We've beaten this dead horse for a while. I mean, Max still has 7 race wins on the season. Lando has 3. That's why there's such a gap in the championship lead right now. I mean, just because he did it all at the beginning of the season, like we've talked about, Lando has the momentum now, but Max put in the results when he needed to, when they had the car, and it might seem a little anticlimactic at the end of the season, but it's like a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah. Like Lewis said before hitting the brake magic button and going off into the runoff in Baku. But yeah, I think, Norris, really what needs to happen, like you said, McLaren has to win, but it needs to be Norris winning. Like Norris has to continue to win and win and win. He can't be coming in second. Obviously if Max wins and he comes in second, like the championship is probably done. But if Oscar comes in first and Lando's in second, like it's just not going to be enough. That's 7 points he's going to miss out on. He's really going to need to continue winning. And we have Austin, coming up in a couple weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. And that's where he's going to have to, Red Bull's always been strong there. And if McLaren can win there, I mean, they could, there's potential they could win every single race the rest of the season, and it'll come down to how well Max can finish. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think that it will at a minimum be within 25 points in Abu Dhabi, which means that there'll still be a chance, right? Like if Lando were to win and Max DNF'd or finished out of the points, if Oscar just T-bones him in turn 1, or just does a Valtteri Bottas Hungary 2021, just cleans him out, there's a chance. So I think it'll come down to the last race. How close it'll be, I don't know. Let's see.
Knowing what we know now, and obviously with Max getting a second, does it make you feel a little bit better if we do crown him as the champion, that he was able to get a rebound performance in here?
Absolutely. I mean, I think for Max's confidence with the car and Red Bull to keep their, morale up and everything, they need to get back on the podium. I mean, I think this was a important second place for them, potentially even more important than some of his wins early in the year.
Plenty to talk about with your actual experience there. We have some of the photos here, but wrapping up the news, let's touch on this and the impact to the card market with you were in the paddock. Yeah. I'm sure you probably heard some of the rumors here. It appears that I don't know, Helmut Marko always feels like the unreliable narrator in the story. That you're not sure if he's telling the truth or not, but now it has come out that Daniel Ricciardo was told before the race that he was going to be departing RB Cash App after the race, and I think, and you were there, Scott, like he just wasn't himself. Obviously getting the fastest lap at the very end there, pitting and going for it. I mean, the skills there, it's just it's just been a lack of consistency. And Horner was fighting for him, but
Yeah,
they
sounds like
needed to
you're right.
see Lawson in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, mixed feelings on it, right? Like, I think, if you take a look at Ricardo's career in whole, like his whole career, he is one of the one of the best Formula One drivers we've seen. Literally, he's got 8 wins, which is nothing to scoff at. I mean, there's plenty of really good Formula One drivers who don't even come close to that. And he had 8 wins, I'd say 2014, 2016 seasons. I mean, he was one of the best, if not the best driver on the grid in those seasons. So he's had it. I think the McLaren stint, you know, didn't go well for him, and ever since then, he just kind of hasn't been able to rekindle the magic. But it was always fun seeing him on the grid. And yeah, it sounds like they told him before, but I mean, how long before? And it sounds like Lawson knew well before, and it would have been nice if everyone knew, including the media, if they could have given him like a really good send off. You could have done donuts at the end of the race, like that type of stuff. Like, it just seems like a weird departure. I don't know how I feel about it. Especially like being a Red Bull fan, it doesn't really sit that well with me. I would have loved to see him get an actual send off. But yeah, no, it'll be different. It'll definitely be different not having him on the grid. He was awesome.
I think it's been long enough now too, where we would probably see an immediate impact to his card market. I feel like, and I haven't been following him closely because I just don't collect Ricciardo. But I have to imagine that people are kind of trying to scoop up what they can right now. Knowing that, like you just said, where he has been a really successful driver, he's a fan favorite worldwide. The Shuey, there's so much to like
Yeah.
about him and his personality, what he's done on track. We've talked about this before, Scott, too, is one of the best parts about collecting Formula One stuff is I almost feel like you're almost kind of collecting the memories.
Yeah.
Especially like what you've gone through, what you've experienced. It's like a way to kind of remember like the good times, the nostalgia. I mean, that's where the market is for Formula One cards. We both would love to see it grow past the niche and be more mainstream, but for the most part, Formula One collectors are the ones driving the market. So right now would probably be a really bad time to look for Daniel Ricciardo cards, because people, if save searches for like, I have saved searches for like McLaren. There's so many people putting all kinds of cards up now, trying to capitalize on this news here.
Yeah. It's interesting because like you feel like, retiring like this, it's not like he went out on a high, and you generally think like, oh, maybe that'd be a dip. If anything, I think there's been a little bit of an uptick. I don't know how long term. It's tough to say kind of what, if someone fades away into the distance, but who knows? I mean, he's a personality, right? Like there's a chance that he may appear in the broadcast or on different shows or something. There may be something that kind of keeps him relevant, or maybe he goes to IndyCar and starts crushing it there. Like you never know. So I think there's still potential for Danny Rick's card market moving forward. And yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of track over the next few years.
Well, we'll pour out one more shoey for him. And like we just said, the worst kept secret, Liam Lawson's going to get a 6 race kind of test run here to see what see what he can do, to see if he's a potential Red Bull driver in the future. I think there's going to be a direct comparison, Scott, to Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah,
I think we're going to find out pretty quickly where he is. And I mean, you've covered this all the time, and when you talk about competing against teammates, the Red Bull, the RB Cash App car, or Racing Bulls, or whatever the heck we're calling them at these days, like Lawson's going to be gauged against Tsunoda. Obviously getting in top 10, getting some points is going to matter, but I would think that Red Bull's looking at this like, okay, where are you related to Yuki at this point?
yeah, and I think clearly they don't have faith in Tsunoda to bring him up to Red Bull. So he's going to need to beat him, right? If he wants to go to Red Bull, like being just behind him or close to him, etc., is not going to be enough because it appears they don't have the faith in Tsunoda to bring him up. They don't rate him high enough to bring him up to Red Bull. So, Liam, he's going to have to bring it. He had a few races last year. He's going to get a similar length stint this year, see what he does. I think if he's close to Tsunoda or maybe a little behind him, I think he ends up slotting in at VCarb again next year. If he, goes out and performs extremely well and, leaves Tsunoda in the dust, then who knows? Maybe there's a conversation about a Red Bull seat. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's all going to be in his hands for the remainder of the year.
They obviously haven't announced their other, seat at this point either. This isn't anything not that we even do show notes. This is all just completely free flowing conversation when we have some general ideas of what we're going to talk about. But I just laugh and I shared some of these memes and stuff with you and some of our friends, Chris and TC. There's so many memes right now about Sergio Perez looking longingly at Franco Colapinto.
Yeah, I saw that. He loves the Argentinian. I don't know. But
he's been impressive. Even Perez said it, like he's difficult to pass. Like, who would have thought like somebody could just come in and really be competitive? I honestly think, James Foles probably hoped that maybe he could have stashed him away for a year or two, but like, I don't know. There's still 2 seats open. Like it's very feasible that he could land one of these seats. Can you imagine like Colapinto like somehow gets into like a V-carb? The whole Sergio Perez thing, if you're a Wolf of Wall Street fan, like he had that great, he's like, I'm not leaving, the Leonardo DiCaprio thing about the rumors of him retiring at the Mexican Grand Prix. Wouldn't it be crazy just to see Colapinto somehow get into the Red Bull stable?
Right. Or, I mean, even in the Sauber, like that would be impressive as well. I think ultimately, he probably just ends up being Williams' reserve driver next year, which isn't terrible because again, they've got Albon and Sainz contracts up after 2025 for Sainz. So who knows? Maybe they do 1 year of Sainz and then they bring Colapinto in and it's Albon Colapinto going forward. But yeah.
Whew. Spicy stuff. All right. So we bury in the lead. You were at the Singapore Grand Prix, and we want to go through some of the hits first that you had with. Actually, I don't want to tell your story. I'm here just to be the co-pilot here. Let's talk about. We hinted about you taking the flight 19 hours to Singapore.
That's right.
I've got some of the photos here of the cars that you ripped as part of the epic break. Just set the framework. Set the groundwork for where we want to go with this.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, the main reason that we went out there, this goes all the way back actually to the first of the year, January 1st, when I ripped a 2020 Sapphire case for Jeff.Crypto.Cards, pulled the Mercedes logo, Esteban Ocon IV, Ana Carlos Sainz, Pat Baraja, 3 Pat Barajas in one case, and Jeff was like, I'm flying you out to Singapore. Like, that was insane. I'm flying you to Singapore. And I was like, oh, okay, we'll see. And sure enough, flew me out to Singapore, got me a hotel and everything. And we decided, hey, let's make something big out of it. So we decided to do a massive break out there. So we did 3 cases of 2020 Sapphire. Shout out to Raid Rips, who actually provided a couple of those. And then we did 16 cases of 2023 Sapphire. And Golden Pulls provided 4 of those. And then we did a case of 2020 Dynasty as well that Golden Pulls provided. So absolutely epic break. I mean, it's like $250,000 break between all of those products put together. But yeah, it went pretty well. I think in terms of the amount of one-on-ones we got, it went very well. And start getting them up on the screen, I can talk through them, but it was a lot of fun. With Dynasty here, we pulled a Botas name patch out of 2020 Dynasty, which is always fun. Which is cool. And then once we got into 2023 Sapphire, we pulled a Lance Stroll 1 of 1 Pad Paraja. We pulled and you can kind of just go through them rapid fire. We pulled a George Russell 1 of 1 Pat Paraja car card. We pulled the Red Bull fastest pit stop 1 of 1 Pat Paraja. We pulled Nick DeVries driver of the day in Italy 1 of 1 Pat Paraja. We pulled Valtteri Bottas 1 of 1 car card. And then we pulled the Lando Norris 1 of 1 car card. So 6 Pad Parajas. And then the biggest one out of Sapphire was the 1 of 1 Superfractor Sapphire Selections non-auto Nico Hulkenberg. That was absolutely epic. Of course, when we saw those golden discs, we were hoping for the Lewis, Leclerc, or Max Superfractor auto, but still a really cool card. And now that means that there's only 4 Superfractor Sapphire Selections left now. Lewis, Max, and Leclerc auto, like I said, and the Russell portrait. So it is really getting down to it in terms of how many are left. And Jeff is definitely hunting for sure. But yeah, so super cool break. And then out of 2020, Sapphire, the best card we pulled was by far George Russell purple out of 10 image variation, which was awesome. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. We had a ton of people there. D2 is obviously there. Jordan was there. Sports Card Yoda. Ben, F1 Ben was there with us. Andrew Rosen from Top Tier Authentic. Sweet Pea was there. I mean, we had a ton of people in the room. Jeff and his girlfriend. I mean, it was just a ton of fun, really. Like, we all had a great time. It was really, we tried to get it done as fast as we could. So, like, I was ripping, D2 was ripping, Jordan ripped a little bit. We had, Ben and Sweet Pea and Andrew, like, opening the boxes and putting the packs out there so we could just go in through packs. So we ended up getting through all of that, like, an hour and a half. And normally, if that's just me doing it by myself and having to open all the boxes, having to rip it all myself and everything, I mean, it's easily 3.5 hours. So we cut it way down, which is good because, I mean, we just had so much going on with the race and all the 3 days. So yeah, but it was a super fun break. Jeff really enjoyed it, which is a key factor there. So yeah, it was awesome. And then after that, we went over to the paddock. And so on the Friday, that was the day that we were in the paddock, right? And I had made it, my castle call for the week was we were going to get 2 drivers to open 2020 Sapphire packs. In the end, we got 2 F1 drivers. I don't think we have them pictured here, but I had Lance Stroll and Kevin Magnussen open them. But then we got like every new face from the Formula 2 guys or reserve drivers. So Liam Lawson, who's pictured here, he opened a pack of 2020 Sapphire with me. And then we had Kimi Antonelli, who, oh my God, absolutely love Kimi Antonelli. I mean, he not only did he open a pack with me, but I told him, I was like, yeah, you're going to be in the product next year. And he's like, oh, that's perfect. And like, we ended up talking for like a minute after the fact and everything. I'm very fast becoming a Kimi Antonelli fan. So he was awesome. And then we had Oliver Behrman opened a pack. He was really nice. He was fun to talk to. We had a conversation as well. He loves the cards. He was like looking at them like really closely and everything. So, it's really fun to see like this exciting new crop of drivers that are coming in next year seem to be excited about it and just like engaging with the fans, right? Which is really cool. And then we had Jack Doohan, who he didn't open a pack, but he signed a red checker portrait, Jack Doohan, of his own for F1 Ben. And then later on, he signed my brake mat. And what's funny about this picture, so if you're into Formula One podcasts in general, you'll actually notice there's a Easter egg here on the left. That person walking behind Jack Doohan is actually Ed Straw from the Race podcast. And I didn't even realize it. And I'm sad because I would have had him sign my brake mat for sure. I've had Scott Mitchell-Mullen sign my brake mat before in Zandvoort 2 years ago on the Pirates Card Castle break mat. But yeah, so Ed Straw with a little cameo here in there. But yeah, so it was awesome kind of having everyone, sign the break mat and pick up all the cards. We had 36 signatures. And so you can see it up on screen. And then I've got it right here too. I can hold it up. Let's see how good it is. Oh yeah, look at that. That is just beautiful. So the P1 Castle, we've got the mat there. You can see there's a little blotch. That was unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, we had, I think it was something like 12 F1 drivers signed it, 36 people in total. Like Behrman signed it. You see Toto's signature up there just on the left. George Russell signed it. Lando signed it. Behrman signed it. Doohan signed it. I mean, we got so many people to sign this brake mat. So really cool. I'll break on it for a while. And then we'll probably ultimately get it framed. You can see Valtteri Bottas down there, bottom middle, Joe Guan Yu right below the P1 Castle logo. Yuki Tsunoda is actually just above the P1 Castle logo to the right in a darker pen. And then James Vowles signed right over Yuki Tsunoda, which was pretty funny.
What's the faint one underneath the P1 here? I've circled it with my mouse.
I'll have to go back. Honestly, I'll have to. What I'm hoping to do over the next couple weeks or so is go back and kind of watch all the videos and like look at everything and document it, and then like make like a little paper printout that has like the name of like where the signature is, the name. So it's like a little key, like sometimes for Valentine's Day, you open up chocolates and there's like the little map of like what chocolates you're eating and everything. But yeah, we had Will Buxton signed it again. He's over on the left-hand side inside. I love where he signed. He signed on like the black part inside the checker. Yep. Yeah, right there. That was really cool. I should have told everyone to do that. But we had Kim Illman on the bottom right inside the black right there. Yep, he's there as well. I mean, just tons and tons and tons of people. So, I mean, it was so much fun getting all the signatures and, running up to everybody and getting them. Obviously, had to get Lando. But yeah, so super fun experience on that Friday. And then, got up on screen here. We so the story behind this, so the picture, if you're listening, the picture on screen now is actually it came from F1's own socials. They posted like a little 10-second video of your race winner at Lando Norris, and it's down there with the team, and you can see me tapping his helmet. And so what happened is, we had Legends passes, right? So we were in the Claymore suite for all 3 days, but then on Friday we got to be in the paddock the entire day, right? And so that's kind of where I got all the signatures, where I had them over packs and everything. I mean, it's funny because Jeff went home after practice, and I'm like, listen, I'm staying here. I don't get to hang out in the paddock often. I was there in the paddock till like 1 a.m. And actually, a friend of mine is a Mercedes mechanic, Jimmy Plummer. And he was nice enough to bring me in to the Mercedes garage on Friday. And luckily on Friday, I had initially started off wearing the Ferrari shirt, but then I got drenched in sweat because it's so hot and humid over there. So I switched to my backup shirt, which was Mercedes. And it was actually the same color shirt that a lot of them were wearing, that like neon yellow, kind of highlighter yellow. So he brought me into the garage, showed me like, all the samples of like fuel and oil and everything they take, and all the diagnostics they run on it, and like the different stuff they do with the tires. And like I saw the car like completely uncovered, so it was a really cool experience. But as a part of that whole package, you get to go down to the podium for the podium ceremony. So with about 7 laps left, you go up to this place and they take you down into like this tunnel. Think like, with a tunnel like where, basketball players would ever come out of in stadiums. So we're down in this tunnel and the doors are closed. And so we see the race end. We're like watching it on like someone's phone down there in F1 TV. And so we see the race end, and then they wait a little bit for the drivers to kind of like pull in to get around the lap to go into Parc Ferme. And then they open the doors. And when they open the doors, Brian, it is just free for all. And I sprinted. Like
how's your 40 time?
My 40 time, listen, back in college, my 40 time was really good. I ran like under 4.4. I was fast in college. Now, put on a little weight and been a little out of shape, since my college days. But I probably ran as fast as I have since college. I don't think I've ran as fast as I did in the past 10 years. But I sprinted past like anybody that was in the tunnel with me, all past like the teams and everything. And I got right up to the McLaren team. Because I knew that, as is customary, the winners always come over to their team. I was hoping he would like jump into the team and I could like, get him. But, after a Singapore race, they're pretty exhausted. So, but he came over, was high-fiving everyone. And, I'm pretty tall. So, even being kind of right behind the McLaren team, I was able to reach up and, tap the helmet along with the rest of the team. So, I mean, it was an insane experience. To be able to do that, like, oh my God. And I was like filming it while I'm doing it, but yeah, that was nuts. And I high-fived Zach Brown and Andrea Stella and actually Christian Horner, and he was so confused when I asked him for a high five, because I'm sitting there wearing like a McLaren shirt. and everything. So yeah, it was pretty funny. So then I got to sit there for the entire podium ceremony, everything. They do the national anthems for Great Britain twice because it's Lando and McLaren, right? So then they kind of corral everyone out, right? So if you'd come down there, they're like, all right, and they take you back out through the tunnel. So when they did that, I kind of like, like went off to the side, taking pictures of stuff. So they, didn't take me out. So I was down there for another like 45 minutes, just like with the teams, like watching like the cars and everything. I could have touched the cars. Sure, I would have gotten kicked out, but I could have touched the cars. And after about 45 minutes, there's some guys in F1 shirts coming towards me. I was like, oh, okay. So I just walk right towards them. I was like, hey, how do you get out of here? And they were like, oh, we were actually coming to kick you out. And I was like, oh, perfect. Because I need an escort out. Tell me where to go. And so they kind of showed me where to go back into the tunnel and escorted me out. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I'll never forget it. Right. Absolutely. So again, super massive thanks to Jeff Decker Cards, because without him, none of this would have been possible. But yeah, absolutely epic experience. Something I'll not soon forget.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unreal.
So when you tell people that, when you're breaking the cards and you're a huge fan and you go to the races, you literally are at the races. Like you're interacting with, the drivers and teams that we're pulling the cards from. It's
true. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we try to go to 5 or 6 races a year or so. And most of them are on their own dime. We get to write it off as a business expense because it's all pertains to marketing and everything. But this one was on Jeff, which was awesome. So really appreciate that. But yeah, super cool. And super happy to be able to share it with everyone, right? I mean, I was really ecstatic that Wi-Fi and everything was working. Every time I would take a video or anything, instantly I would post it to my story to kind of let everyone in the community kind of join in the experience from halfway across the world.
Yeah, so you got a lot of those videos on your Instagram, P1 Castle. I know you just posted a little like 1-minute highlight reel, which if you have not checked it out already, please do so. I'll link it in the show notes when we eventually post this on YouTube. Wow. All right. So that wasn't even, well, I mean, that was the biggest thing going on. But as we talked about the last time, there was a huge eBay auction that went on and just wrapped up last week from Leahi. I knew I was going to mess it up. Not Leahi.
That's what I used to call them. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. So anyways, we're going to go through just very quickly you picked out some of the notable sales here, whether it was a big CAD, as we say in the Northeast here, or just a really healthy sale amount. These are some really cool cards.
And before we go through, I do want to give huge shout out to Strictly T1. If you don't follow them on Instagram, make sure you do Strictly T1_. Not only did they actually supply me with these comps, these pictures, because they had taken them, but they're constantly keeping, the Formula One community and market up to date on recent comps, recent sales, and posting reels all the time. With the most recent sales, they covered the Leahi auction on their Instagram through reels on sales in great detail. So definitely make sure you check them out. And like I said, I got these pictures from them earlier today. So he's nice enough to send those over. So thank you over at Strictly T1. Really appreciate it. We're getting Strictly T1 t-shirts coming in soon. We're going to do a jersey swap. I'm going to get him a P1 Castle shirt once my new shirts come in. Got all these old F1 Castle shirts.
You both had a name change recently.
It's true.
So I think his was more preemptive, but
smart.
It was probably smart to do that. So, all right. Anyways, let's look at some of the cards. I think I've got them in the order that I don't know if this is highest to lowest, but we're just going to go through some of these fairly quickly.
Sure. So, I mean, one of the biggest ones here, obviously, Lewis Hamilton PSA 10. This was a glove patch, FIA Biotech glove patch from 2020 Dynasty, sold for 14,855, so almost 15K. So really healthy sale here for a hammy 2020 Dynasty. And then, like you said, you can go through and rapid fire. If you've got any thoughts on them, feel free to chime in. Saw George Russell PSA 9 go for 12,600. I think this is a really good sale. This is a red image variation from 2020 Sapphire. So, one of his premium cards, right? It's a pop one. We've seen some of these, red Sapphire cards go for crazy amounts. 12,600 is a really good sale, I think, for George Russell's market. I think Russell's market had kind of cooled off quite a bit this year, just when folks realized Mercedes wasn't going to be challenging at the tippy top. They have made improvements though, so we'll have to see how they do next year. But I think it was a good sale for Georgie there.
And we've got both pads are still outstanding, aren't they?
That's right. Both the portrait and the image variations still out there somewhere.
So this sale will ultimately help those cards when they eventually surface, and hopefully in the P1 Castle.
That's right. Another massive card. This is actually from 2022 Dynasty. So it's a 1-of-1 Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz double Ferrari logo patch. So both it's a dual patch, and both of their patches have the Ferrari horse, which is absolutely insane. This sold for 12,445 and 15 cents. But really strong sale for a 2022 Dynasty card. Like in general, that is a very good sale. To see anything over 10,000 that's not a flag patch jumbo 1-of-1 is very impressive. So yeah, that was a really good sale. We saw, what is this, PSA 10, I believe, orange track tag 2020 Max Verstappen, sold for just over $8,000. I know who bought this, but this is a big card. I mean, these track tags are iconic, right? There's a reason that people pay up for these. I mean, they are the biggest insert that has ever been created in Formula One. There will likely never be an insert that will surpass these track tags, just given that 2020 was the inaugural set. It's going to be tough for any cards outside of the 2020 set that are inserts to reach that level and that value. So really good sale though at $8,000 on an orange. And then I think
these are so hard to gem too, especially on the golds and the oranges. It's funny too, because as I'll interject for a little bit with the prep side of things too, is the back is white and black, and more often than not they do have the peel and it looks hidden. So if you look at it quickly and you don't look up under microscope, you're like, oh, this is great, it's going to gem, and then you realize that it's that clip is rather pronounced. I saw one earlier this week that I was working on, and it just looked like somebody had taken their finger, and like it was like one of the worst peels I've ever seen. So a 10 is huge. Like I don't know how many orange 10s there are, but this is a great CAD.
Oh yeah. Then you can't go wrong with the 2020 Lewis Hamilton Superfractor. I can't see, was this a Superfractor 70th or just a true 1-of-1 Superfractor? I think it might have been the 70th, but really big. This was from his Spain win in Spain. This one sold for 5,300. I mean, anytime any of these kind of, yellow tag cards, you're seeing a sale over $5,000. I mean, that's amazing sale. Gasly. Now this was a very encouraging sale. If you're a Gasly collector, we saw the 2020 Sapphire 1-of-1 Papraja portrait sell for 6,500, which I think is really encouraging for Gasly fans. I know where this one came from. I know the previous owner. I don't know who actually ended up picking it up, but I think this is a great sale for the Gasly market. We've seen reds were going for like 700 or something under 1,000. So to see this one kind of garner that big of a sale is really impressive. Obviously PSA 9 is an outstanding grade, but as a 1-of-1, the grade isn't as significant. So I think, this is really encouraging for Gasly's market. Kimi Räikkönen, baby. So 2020 Superfractor 70th. This was a portrait of Kimi Räikkönen, I think PSA 8. So the grade isn't amazing, but not bad, right? When you think 2020 and 8 is still solid, but 5,600, really strong sale, especially when you remember that the Superfractor 70th, there's 2 copies, potentially of each of these. And this is a beautiful card. I mean, one of Raikkonen's probably best cards in existence. So congratulations, whoever picked that one up. 2007 world champion, Kimi Raikkonen.
A gold Max track tag.
Yeah, now we saw the orange go for 8,100, right? 8,100. This one was a gold track tag of Max, still again PSA 10, but 5,200. I think this sale is actually more impressive than the orange. 5,200 for a gold where there's 50 copies versus 8,100 for an orange where there's only 25. Both of them as a PSA 10. I mean, I think this is an outstanding comp for anyone who's got any of these gold track tags, especially on a PSA 10. I mean, it's very encouraging. Oh man, there are just so many amazing cards that sold in this auction. On screen, we've got the 2020 Max Verstappen Superfractor car card, right? So I think it's like number 26, his car card, $5,200 for the car card. Another extremely impressive sale. I mean, it's rare that you see the car cards go anywhere over 2,000 to 3,000, even from 2020. So, I mean, this was a really great sale for the car card market, I think, in general, and obviously for Max's market as well. Now we're going back to 2020 Dynasty. We've got a Lando Carlos Sainz dual patch. So this one is out of 10. It's only a PSA 7 though. So you think with a lower grade, maybe doesn't do that well. No, this is great. $4,000, $4,001 to be specific, but $4,000. I think it's really encouraging just in general for 2020 Dynasty, because the card itself, Lando, Sainz, generally the dual cards go for a little bit less than like your single driver. Like if this was a Lando single patch, like now, you have to imagine a Lando single patch is got to be worth more than this. I mean, this like Sainz, he's a great driver, but where Lando is in the market, where he is in the sport, you have to think that Sainz probably detracts from this card. And it's an out of 10, and it's a PSA 7, and it sold for 4,000. I mean, that I would say that if you're looking at any Lando out of 10 single patch, cards, like you got to be looking at 5,000 plus then. So this was a really good sale for 2020 Dynasty in general.
I have a couple Dynasty cards. I have not graded them yet. I have graded some of them previously. This is where I'm like, do you just keep it's that age old question. Everybody posts these polls all the time. Like Dan Zoo will post it. It's like, do you leave it in the one touch or do you grade it? Do you go with, Beckett? Do you go with PSA? Oh man. But I think this ultimately just proves kind of like the grade ultimately doesn't really matter.
Doesn't seem to, right? And it's interesting is Warmani, Peter Warman, who is known as a massive lights out collector, big Max fan. He posted recently a Lance Stroll Dynasty that we called the naked Lance Stroll, right? Because it was bare, because it wasn't in, like obviously if you're going to prep these cards and send them to PSA, some people just send them in the mag, right? But you can take them out and prep them and then send them. And honestly, man, those raw Dynasty cards look so good. Like I'm half of a mind to take, my my Sebastian Vettel I've got up there and crack it out and just look at it, hold it, like touch the raw card with my bare hands. Like it really did make me want to. So I don't know, but yeah.
Oh, you absolutely can prep them, and not that I would improve a card ever, but there's ways to make it more presentable. Another Sebastian Vettel, another kind of not definitely part of the prancing horse, but maybe not one of the best parts, but definitely a multicolor patch. And these got really pop with 2020 with the black and white driver photographs.
Yeah, agreed. Right. Another really good sale, 3,460 for, again, you're barely seeing any of the horse, but you do get all of the Italian colors in there from the bottom of the Ferrari logo. But yeah, Vettel out of 10, really good sale, 3,460 for a Vettel is good.
Charles.
Yeah, Leclerc 2020. Now I can't remember. Was this a PSA 10 or is this just a standard? I actually
It
can't.
looks like a mint 9.
Okay, so it's a 9. So, again, grade not extremely significant, but single patch Leclerc 3,100. Guess that is an amazing sale. 3,100 for just a single patch Leclerc from 2020. Nothing crazy about the patch, just, half red, half black. I know someone who's got a couple of these. That I think this is a really strong sale. Again, 2020 Dynasty really kind of showed up and showed out for this auction. Now
Another pad.
this is one that now I actually think this was maybe a little low, or maybe it's just that the other one is high, right? But this was 2020 Pad Paraja. This was, I think it's his win in Mexico. But it sold for 2,825, which by itself, solid sale. It's only a PSA 8, but again, that's a pretty solid grade for 2020. Lewis Hamilton, Pad Paraja, 1 of 1. You think 2,800, that's kind of right where it should be. But again, there was that superfractor earlier. There was an insert that sold for 5,000. So, I mean, that might just be kind of saying that in general, unless it's like a, super premium, or maybe even if it is ultra premium, portrait type card, the superfractors do reign supreme over the Pad Parajas. And it's just a fact. It's something that's kind of always been the case in the hobby. But I mean, I think this comparison is a perfect example of why superfractors just always will be the bee's knees, so to
Can't
speak.
beat those golden discs. Another red, George, the freshest 200. So one of his secondary portrait rookie card, 2,651, PSA 9.
Yeah, that's solid as well. I mean, obviously, the image variation went for, $10,000 higher roughly, but I think this is still good. Freshest is, like you said, it's kind of the second best. I think Russell's got 3 big cards, right? The portrait, of course. The portrait and the image variation, I feel like they'll stand alone. But then the freshest and his spaceman, right, his helmet card are probably the 2 next biggest. So I think this is a pretty good sale. Obviously, you can see a lot of action on it too. 53 bids. So a lot of people looking to throw their hat in the ring for that. Up next, 2022 Topps Chrome Superfractor, Lewis Hamilton. This is, I believe it's driver of the day in Brazil, or maybe win in Brazil.
I think this is the winner card for Brazil. So this is that epic race 2021 where he basically started in 20th and won the won the race. One of the most epic drives you'll ever see.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was passing everybody. That was back when they had the jet engine in the Mercedes. Yeah, I mean, he just crushed it. I think he went from last to 10th or something in the sprint, and then from 10th all the way up to first in the actual race. So amazing race. I mean, one of Lewis Hamilton's best of all time, will always be remembered. And for a 2022, I mean, $2,600, that's a really good sale for, again, it's just a Grand Prix winner card. This isn't like a portrait or a variation or an auto, so really good sale, very encouraging for, some of the years that potentially get left behind, right? There's always 2020 and whatever the current year is, but it's good to see a solid sale for like a 2021, 2022 card.
Good at Charles Leclerc, World on Wheels, red, PSA 9, $2,500.
Yeah, that's good. The World on Wheels seem to always, they definitely don't go for anywhere near the track tags. I mean, God, you put a red track tag of Leclerc on there and you're looking at 30 grand plus probably. But the World on Wheels are still solid. I think this is a really good sale. I've got a Lando Norris red World on Wheels, and you think right now his market is kind of even or maybe a little bit above Leclerc's. So, should be looking at maybe 25-3, but very nice sale there.
One of your favorite drivers of all time, Sebastian Vettel, PSA 10 purple portrait sapphire, just incredible grade.
Yeah, this is one that I was actually bidding on. I didn't ultimately win it. Went for 2,500. I mean, geez, a PSA 10 in 2020 is so hard to come by. And purple out of 10. I mean, this is so rare, right? If you think of you talk about liquidity versus rarity, right? Liquidity is always better in the short term, but rarity long term, I mean, there's only 10 of these cards and it's a PSA 10. I haven't looked at the pop report to know exactly what the pop is on this Sebastian Vettel, but you have to imagine that it's extremely low. It might even be a pop 1 or maybe it's a pop 2. I think we've seen like cards before in the past, like the Max Verstappen image variation randomly has like 3 of them. Yeah, so it's a pop 2. Actually, I just looked it up. It's a pop 2.
Okay, good.
So still amazing to have Sebastian Vettel. It means there's only 2 of them in the world, right? I mean, I would take this over a red raw for sure.
Charles Leclerc autograph, refractor. So he signed 52 of these. PSA 8, auto 9, which anybody that preps cards knows Leclerc has an auto that you don't always want to grade because he has a tendency to, as he's finishing signing his name, lift the pen, and also gets a little streaky. So I don't think the auto grade hurt this one too much. 23, almost $2,400. I mean, there's only so many of these autographs that they had for 2020 between Dynasty and Chrome. Very good sale here.
Yeah, no, really encouraging because we had seen, some of like Lando, Russell, Leclerc's silver autos from 2020 drop down into the thousands, right? Talking like 1,500-ish up to 1,800 or so. So, really healthy bump here going up to almost 2,400.
I feel like I may have prepped this card, but I think I did a 7. I just remember one of these I prepped got an auto 9, and I was just absolutely crushed about it. So I learned my lesson after that one. Carlos Sainz red refractor PSA 10. Excuse me, red 70th PSA 10. So there's only 4 of these in the world to begin with, and they have a little bit better chance at a gem rate, but you're still going to deal with a little minor clipping on these 70th cards. So PSA 10 is pretty big on this, almost $2,200, Scott, on this card.
Yeah, and I mean, this is great for Sainz. I've actually got a true red of this that I hit for Julian, graded in a PSA 8 that, I mean, love seeing this sale. Love seeing a sale over $2,000 on this card. And, I think maybe on the next episode, we can take a look at some of the other sales from recent golden auctions, because there were some big red 70th portraits, Lewis, Max, Lando, all sold. And you can kind of see the gap between, one of those types of drivers and a Carlos Sainz, right? You're talking 5, 6, 7x. But yeah, really good sale for Sainz.
Antonio Giovinazzi.
We got a 2020 Dynasty jumbo zipper patch 1 of 1. So one of Giovinazzi's best cards, but obviously someone who's been away from Formula One for a little while. He did win Le Mans last year, 24 hours, which was great, but hasn't really been in the headlines recently. You have to imagine his market is pretty small, but over $2,000 just got over it. So really impressive, I think, just in general. And that just goes to show kind of how important and impactful 2020 Dynasty cards are.
So we've got a 2022. So the black Ray Wave refractor. I had to say that slow so I didn't get tongue-tied here. So this was, that parallel was introduced in, was it 2021? Was the first one of that? Yep. Yeah, so it's a one of one. It's kind of an additional 1 of 1. It doesn't hold a candle to a pad or superfractor. Still only 1 of these in the world. A Charles Leclerc portrait. The double pointing, like our friend Chris Letty pointing right to his heart. $1,700 is pretty good. PSA 9. These ones were tough. A lot of surface issues on these Ray Waves. I've opened quite a bit of light in my day. Late product.
Yeah, and I think the black border, I mean, it's just so cool. Like, I love the 1 of 1 Ray Waves because the black looks great, and the black looks amazing on this card with like the gold little semi border before it. So yeah, really beautiful card. And even in a PSA 9, really strong sale. Again, it's great to see like the 2022, 2021 cards have strong sales. So another example of that there.
Another Vettel Superfractor from 2021, card 158. Not coming to mind what race when this one was. Obviously in his Ferrari final season with Ferrari.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, really, really nice to see Vettel getting some love here. Like you said earlier, that purple was great. But here in 2021, which really is the set that has been like the most forgotten and, most kind of unloved by collectors, just given kind of, how the market completely crashed during the time that product was getting opened. But, just about $1,500 for this. For again, it's a Grand Prix winner card. Like that is an amazing sale for Vettel's market for sure. Love to see Seb getting good grades.
Again, a yellow tag, Charles Leclerc, red 70th, PSA 10. So only 4 of these in the world, and this one gemmed, $1,200. Pretty solid.
Yep, gotta love a red Ferrari color match. But another strong sale.
Azerbaijan, was this the card for that one?
Yeah, I think it might be. I'd have to double check.
Our little thumbnails on screen are rather small, and my memory at 11 Eastern time is a little fuzzy. Purple Portrait, Alexander Albon rookie card, PSA 9, just over $1,000. I think it's pretty solid for the Albon market. I mean, unless you're a diehard Williams fan at this rate, I know Albon is a fan favorite, but just doesn't really materialize into a card market price wise. I think that's a pretty good sale.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of, victim of being at Williams, right? I mean, he's not going to be challenging for race wins or podiums. If he gets points, that's an amazing race for him. So, that's kind of where the market is for those folks. And, it's also worth noting there is a PSA 10 of this card. So, it's not the highest pop. So, given that, I think that over $1,000 is a great sale. And again, purple sapphire, man, oh, so beautiful.
So look at foil. Oh, geez. Talk about the forgotten sets with 2021. This is flagship, not chrome.
Paper baby.
Foil fractors were the equivalent of the super fractor. So this is a 1-of-1 Oscar Piastri first appearance car card, PSA 9, just a few cents shy of $800. We don't talk about this subset of this forgotten set often. Personally, I really dislike these like computer composite cars. It was a set filler. I mean that set was with not the amount of races that they had the year before. They had to fill things in. But anyways, still a really healthy sale for I'm also an Oscar Piastri collector, so not that I would have gone for this one, but still a cool addition to your personal collection, whoever bought this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's just the computer generated image of the car. Oscar's nowhere to be found on this image. And obviously every other year of the car cards for F2, it's an image of them actually driving the car at some point. So, this one, Oscar, I saw red checker PSA 10 from Chrome of his go for, under $200. So I think comparatively, this is actually a really, really strong sale.
Another Gasly Superfractor. I know there's a lot of cards here, but it's definitely worth going through these. This is a PSA 9. This is his when he won Monza in 2020, the surprise winner. PSA 9, $560.
Yeah, and again, this is a really cool Gasly card because this is Gasly's only win, right? If he never wins again, this is his only Superfractor celebrating that win. So, I think that while this is a strong sale for a 2021, random kind of insert Grand Prix winner card, especially of Gasly, I think this is also a really good buy for Gasly collectors and for his market long term. This is going to be one of his best cards when it comes down to it.
Again, 2021. So flagship had one of the coolest parallels, Scott. We've never really talked about this, but the flag's a foundation. you've talked about it before. As a Formula One fan as a kid, you loved helmets and you loved flags. And you don't get the helmet on this one, but you do get the British flag in this with Lewis Hamilton, a red parallel. PSA, I can't see the grade on this anyways, but just shy of $425.
Yeah, I mean, paper is tough to get big sales, and so I think this is a great sale. It's a really cool card. Like you said, I mean, God, I wish they had made Flags of Foundation in Chrome. I don't know why they didn't. But because you can't get it in Chrome, this is the only place you can. And a red with the Union Jack on there, like it really does kind of match up. So that was a really cool sale. I think, awesome to see some flagship cards still bringing in some decent numbers, especially given how cheap you can get them. I mean, you can get boxes of flagship for like $40, so I think, hey, if you were to hit the 1-of-1 foil fractor of that type of card, I mean, you're looking at something that's going to be worth like over $2,000 based on that sale. So, yeah, I think it's really encouraging, even for kind of some of the lowest end product you can possibly buy in Formula One.
Whew. All right. Marathon episode, over an hour at this rate, but I think it was about 25 cards or so that we went, and obviously they had far more than that. I mean, multiple days with tons and tons of auctions. I love seeing fellow Formula One collectors posting on Instagram, like what they picked up. I mean, some collectors picking up more than others, but I just, working with a lot of these guys and girls with, the collections and helping prepare their cards to go to like PSA and come back and just see the true collectors really trying to build sets and collect like really cool moments and stuff. It just is really encouraging to me as a Formula One fan and collector that these cards are here to stay. I don't think there's no kind of pump and dump at this point. I think the people buying these cards and consolidating and selling, I mean, these are the core collectors that we have. And if we can grow, the hobby and get more Formula One fanatics in, fanatical fans, not fanatics the company, but I'm sure they'll help too. But it's really great.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think really cool to see. I saw a lot of posts, people, posting the tons and tons of cards they picked up from Leahi, and then some saying, hey, this is the first Formula One card I've ever picked up from the Leahi auction. So, like you said, I think there's some folks that are kind of consolidating, curating. There's other folks that are just entering, which is really cool. So it seems like there's a lot of movement. And, I feel like one of the narratives that I hear from folks is like, oh, look at these big cards. Like they're getting out. Look, they're exiting. It's like, guys, you got to remember, there's another person on the side of that transaction who's buying the card, right? So, while someone may be getting out or curating their collection, letting go of a big piece, another person is adding a big piece to their collection. So you got to understand that there's two sides to it. But hey, I think this is really cool to kind of take a look at the auction. I know there was a lot to go through, so we were kind of just rapid firing them. But I'd love to do more of this type of content, on the show here, right? We call it carbon cardboard for a reason, right? So I think we're trying to, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we're trying to skew a little bit more towards the card and cardboard side of things, going forward, and would love to hear, what folks have to say. If you've got, comments, suggestions, or if you have any questions, I mean, hey, would love to hear questions from the community that we can answer here. I think one of the things that I'd love to do for one of our upcoming episodes is take a look at specific driver comparison market. Like I already know one comparison I want to take a look at that we'll chat about afterwards here for one of the next episodes, because there was an absolutely insane sale on Golden that we have to talk about on the next episode. But really wanted to focus on the Leahi auction on this one, and then we can get into some other stuff next time.
There's always plenty to talk about. We are not shy about talking. We both love to talk, and it's like we said, we don't have any we have a rough agenda. Usually there's no notes. This is all free form. One take. We all know the rules. No swearing. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, no community service. We don't have time for it. So
no, the FIA is not going to come cracking down on this show for sure. All right, Scott, just really quickly, what's coming up in the P1 Castle?
So actually some very, very exciting stuff. So there's kind of two things I'll talk about. One is, so Austin is coming up, like I said, in about 3 weeks or so. We're definitely going to be doing something for that. It's not quite as huge as I thought initially. We're saving that for Vegas. But we do have some really cool stuff going on at Austin. Probably run a 2020 Chrome case or something cool like that live from the track, from the race. But then another big collab coming up. And I'm actually, when you're listening to this tomorrow morning, you may already see the little teaser I'm putting out for it. But it's myself and Ray Rips back again, and another person that I've actually never done a collab with before. Ray Rips has, so we'll leave it up to guesses, but you'll see we're dropping a teaser for that tomorrow. But yeah, so that should be a really cool collab. And coming up, that one's going to be down at Fanatics Collect, which is the first weekend of November, so just about a month away. And we've got that coming up. Going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. The show is going to be great. I've got 6 tables rented out, and then I'm going to have some folks there with me, helping me work the show and bring in some of their own collections to put it out there for the community. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And then we won't talk too much on it now, but Vegas is going to change the game. Vegas is going to change the game.
That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. All right. Well, before we keep rambling some more here, my friend, I think we should probably pull the curtain on this particular episode.
All righty. Well, guys, you know how it goes. Collect your cardboard and keep it carbon.